right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. This is Eric of the Lovely Family, and this is the one and only Wide Awake News. We are broadcasting on Rents Radio Network as well as other individual places that you can find it, like wideawakenews.com if you want to be in the chat room and join in the conversation with me and my special guest today. You see, I do things like this. Everybody wants me, announcing things and things of that nature, and, well, my programs are for the steadfast. Those are keep their ear to the ground from one day to the next. They learn to expect certain things on my broadcast, and I bring specific individuals in when I need them and when I feel it's necessary, and so forth. But, I want to say hello to everyone out there. If you want to be in the chat room, you can go over to wideawakenews.com and you can join me and the one and only Reginald Keigler here today on the Wide Awake News broadcast for an hour. And if you jump into the chat room, the call-in number is 1-877-342-6673, but it is also labeled at the bottom of the chat room so that you may find it if you are looking for it. Once again, that's wideawakenews.com. Now, for those people who are joining me today and are here for the program, it was kind of selfishly motivated. It was kind of, selfishly motivated for many reasons. One, it's Reggie. Two, he was having a conversation, and I was finding it difficult to break into the conversation via the 500 characters posting 17 times in a row trying to talk to someone or a group of people. It becomes quite difficult. So I thought that the conversation needed to be opened up to a broader scale where people could call in and communicate their thoughts, issues, and feelings, and we could actually talk about it. Because basically today is about building groups. And before you get a preconceived notion of what that means, we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts, hopefully, personal feelings, emotions, things that should be put into the consideration. How we see people are considering their groups now. So without really further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the conversation and to Reginald Keigler himself. I really like that name. I like German names. It rolls off the tongue. It's a solid name. I like the name, so I like saying it. But you can also find him as Demcat over on he has multiple YouTube channels, and he will be providing the specifics for those when he jumps on here. But basically the conversation was about building groups, and there was basically two different trends that you really saw within the argument. However, it branched out into minor arguments. The one argument was made, and I'm pretty sure that Reggie can correct me if I'm wrong. He talked about, trust and things of that nature that surrounds the idea of trust and trusting individuals within your group. Also that they would put forth labor and time and effort to be within the group. And the real kicker came when the conversation started talking about exclusions from the group. And I want to talk about pitfalls of that. And then I also want to talk about one major portion of the Mimi group is what I'm going to call it. It's basically a child going, me, 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 me. And that would be basically the easiest way to start that conversation off is, what can you do for me? That is the criteria that most people are using. And that's it. One question. What can you do for me? So without further ado, Reginald Keigler, welcome to the Wide Awake News broadcast.
Hey, it's good to talk to you again.
Oh, yeah. It has been a while. Hopefully. Yeah. I would like to make more voice-to-voice conversations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're both extremely busy. I will drop him a line every now and again in Skype, and we'll respond, and we'll have a quick conversation now and again. But I really enjoy speaking directly to Reggie. I think it's because Reggie is, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about you for just a second. I see it as the word would be untainted. Now, what does that mean? He has no preconceived pocket that someone has put him in. You watch his videos and watch him develop his own individual thought process and come to a conclusion on an issue based on data he receives. He doesn't follow one pack. He doesn't follow one specific ideology. He doesn't, he's open to constructive criticism. If you think you see something that is a problem or he can improve on, you'll actually hear it somewhere down the line. It may be the next video. It may take 3 videos, but he'll talk about the constructive criticism that he got and whether or not it works for him and whether or not he has changed it and so forth. So, I mean, with that, it definitely, Reggie, I want to say hats off to you on that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's always an important part of prepping, learning from your mistakes. And, a lot of people that can share a lot of good information. I've learned a lot of stuff from people over the internet, people sharing, the easier way to do things. And once you learn the easier way to do things or better ways or other ways, it's easier for you to figure out what works for you and you can share with other people. And I tell people, do what works for you. Figure out what works for you and, go with that. A solution for one person may not be a solution for others. But, there's some universal things as well that we all can learn. But, yeah, going back to the topic, yeah, it was always about, I noticed from a lot of people, they said they didn't, especially when I asked, what type of individuals did you want to exclude from your group? And, wow, I got a big response from that. A lot of people, they were always interested in, okay, I only want these type of people who can help me, but not a lot of people were interested in talking about how they can help other people.
Well, see, that was my major take with it. And that was my major thing because I commented to you, I was reading all of the different comments that were taking place and everything that was going on. And all I heard was me, what skill do you possess that you can bring to the group that will do whatever for us, will be some kind of benefit, which is nice. It's nice to have people who are educated in different realms, an angler, if you have a pro angler or something of that nature, if you have carpenters, woodworkers, mechanics, engineers, people who build things and make things, it's going to be a huge benefit. Absolutely. But what about the 20-something-year-old guy who is, let's say he's fresh, he's halfway through college. He doesn't really have any type of technical training to do anything, but he shows up, he's up every morning. He's asking you to teach him something. He's trying to work in the field every chance he can. He's not sitting around just sucking up other people's ozone. You know what I mean? Why do you think that people are ignoring these individuals that could potentially become an amazing cog in their wheel?
I don't think they're looking at the situation realistically. We're talking about a situation where there's a total collapse of the system. The power grid goes down. That's going to be down for months, maybe even years. We have a very fragile power system here in America where we have different companies supplying energy. And, a lot of the grid hasn't been updated. And a lot of our grid, the components are made outside of the country. So if there's a cyber attack or there's an EMP or a solar flare and transformers get damaged, it could be a while before we're able to get our different power grids back up. We have 3 main ones, but and there's different components to it. So it's more vulnerable than people think. And as there's a greater move towards integrating computers into certain systems, that leaves them even more vulnerable to hacking and cyber attacks. But anyway, in that type of situation, people aren't thinking about it realistically. Okay, first, people in your group are going to be the people who are actually around you. Your friends, your family, people who live on your block, neighbors. You can know somebody with all the skills in the world, but if they're 50 miles away, what good is it going to do? You may be able to share information, but, if they're not actually there with you, it's not a lot you can really do. So I don't think people think about it realistically. I think people, they have this fantasy and they don't realize that, okay, even if somebody does have certain skills that you're looking for, if you can't rely on them, that's what good are they? That's one of the most important things. Can you trust them and can you rely on them? Do they have your back? Are they people willing to work on your side? And that's just something that people completely overlook. And it's just amazing how people overlook that.
Well,
I think life experience sort of helps people understand the importance of things like that.
Well, I would say in a normal world, yes. But you will find, Reggie, that there are every age bracket is broken down now, and there is a small pocket in every age bracket that thinks along the lines that we do. Age no longer seems to matter when you have, I could tell you a whole story about a 50-year-old woman, 50 plus, who had tons of money. She wasn't mega rich, but she had plenty of money, and she had her weapons, she had her water, her food, she had all of her preps done. And instead of helping her neighbor, she got breast implants. So
it's a narcissistic society. I mean, what do you expect?
It is, and that's the root that I was attempting to get at to communicate with people. Is the root ideology always determines the decisions that are made. It doesn't matter what you tell yourself in the middle. It's your root ideology, and the root ideology of the Mimi group is personal, selfish survival. That is all it hinges on. What can you do for me to keep my ass alive? What can you do for my family to keep them alive? What benefit can I reap from you? And people say that isn't true, but it is the reason why, well, let's say you got 4 carpenters in your group. Well, you don't want a carpenter anymore because you got a bunch of them. So now you have a trained carpenter who's talking about joining your group, and you're like, oh, well, we got a bunch of guys, and well, yeah, and this and that and another, and you're starting to talk about what they can or cannot do for the group. You're balancing them on the worth of your own survival. And I will tell you that the ideological outcome of any group, if you join a group, I can tell you right now whether people want to believe it or not, and I will get ready to comment right after I say it. If you join a group that is based on what can you do for me, in the end, it will be who can I sell out to save me. Your worth will no longer be valued when it's past when your ability to shingle a roof no longer prevents them from being in the ringer. You are now expendable.
And what people don't realize is that the key isn't what can other people do for you, is what you can do for other people. That's what creates a real connection. That connection is what really holds the group together. Being willing to offer something to help other people will make them more likely to offer you something instead of focusing on, okay, you give me. In a weird way, it sort of reminds me of a lot of industries that are suffering right now. For example, the music industry, it's all about, sales, and they don't care about the art. They don't care about the music. They just want to put out the same regurgitated crap over and over. But, if they actually focused on the music, on the art first, then the money would follow, because then people would be more willing to support what they're actually creating if they were willing to offer something worth spending money on in the first place. So I see a lot of that happening throughout society. People are so focused on what can you give me, and they don't realize that it's that connection that you build with other people. If you're only focused on yourself, then the group has fundamentally failed from the beginning. Because it's really a group. In a weird way, it also sort of reminds me of a lot of reality TV shows like Big Brother. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, God, man, I don't want to hear about that. But if you actually take a look at a little bit of that stuff, that same dog-eat-dog mentality is really fascinating. It shows a lot of things that happen within society. People lying to one another, people turning on one another, people using one another just so they can get ahead. And what happens is there's only one winner at the end of the show, of course. But when you think about it in terms of Survivor and other things like that, if there's only one sole survivor, that means that the group fundamentally failed because virtually everybody else did not survive.
Well, yeah, because the group itself doesn't matter, even from the gate, right from the jump. I don't even understand why they work together.
Exactly. If it's just going to be like a survivor type of mentality, it's a fundamentally bad idea, because if you're involved in a situation where there's only going to be one survivor at best, and you're part of a group of, let's say, 6 people, you have a 1 in 6 chance of surviving. Wouldn't it make more sense if you focus on, instead of the sole survivor, trying to get as many people to survive as humanly possible? instead of saying, I want to be that one sole survivor. Well, if you focus on the actual group, then more people will survive, and ironically, your chances of surviving will actually improve.
Yeah, 100% exactly. And I was speaking to a gentleman who lives on my own road, and he's in his 60s. And but he's a Mason as far as not part of the Masonic Lodge, but he lays block. He actually builds things, or did build things in his life. And, I was talking to this individual, and he said, well, his main question was, well, what do you want to survive for? What is the purpose? And that is the conversation that I want to have with people who are survival driven. Are you improving your way of life? Are you going to improve your standard of life? Are you what is it that survival really means? You just want to live to breathe another day? I mean, if that is the root of your goal, then you're eventually going to side with someone, some dictator, some despot, the government, someone, because ultimately, you'll be able to stay on the sidelines and stay out of the way in these situations. This is the reason why I tell people there has to be a goal. If you want to make the world a better place, then that is the goal, and that should be the goal of your group. You know what I mean? The goal of your group isn't about just survival. It should be about each other. It should be about the basic moral fiber and the basic moral code that people should have. It should be about making a better quality of life. Everybody thinks that the electric and intangible goods and whatnot makes a better quality of life. And yeah, electricity and things of that nature make the world a slightly easier place. But if you ask me, and I think Reggie will say the same thing, it's about the actual process of life with other people. Can you look back on memories? Did your attitude that day, did what you did for someone else, did that improve their quality of life? Did it make them smile? Did it make them have a better day? Did you guys accomplish something? Did you build or erect some type of device or machine that makes life better for you? I mean, did you experiment together? Failure with someone else can also be a beneficial event. What do you think about that?
Well, you learn a lot about yourself through failure, how you respond to it. Learn a lot about yourself and other people. So, I mean, that's just as important as your success. Understanding and learning how to turn a failure into something that's useful and productive, actually put you in position to be more successful in the future. So I agree with the idea that you have to have something. Otherwise, you're just breathing, and if you don't have a reason to actually survive, then you're more likely to fall into some behavior that'll be detrimental to yourself and other people. You may be more likely to hurt other people because at that point you don't really care about morality or doing anything decent. At that point, you're just only interested in breathing. And if that's your protocol, then you're going to find yourself more likely to do some pretty desperate, some pretty terrible things because you don't really have any meaningful motivation. You're just moving towards just moving just for the sake of moving. And I don't find that to be a life worth living.
Well, absolutely. I would completely agree, which is the reason why I thought the conversation was so important to have. I mean, I'm willing to make another statement to people. I know the break is coming up here in a couple minutes, but,
yeah.
Let's think about this. The individuals you reject from your group today will be the enemy you go to war with tomorrow.
Oh, well, that was pretty predictable. That's something I thought I mentioned in the chat room as well. I mean, you can't just send people away and think that, well, okay, they're just gonna go quietly into the night and just die or something. You're never gonna see them again. It's not realistic at all. Like I said to people, you can't be excluding people because you don't like their politics. You got to focus on something more meaningful than that. You may be in a group of people who share the same politics and you think the same religion, but if they don't have your back, what good is it? You have to focus on the things that really matter, and things like that, they don't matter in the long run. I mean, if you do send people away, let's say you send your sister's husband away or something. I mean, what's that going to do with your relationship with your sister? She's going to want to go with her husband, right? So what type of situation are you setting yourself up for when you say, "Oh, I don't want these people in my group or those people in my group"? You think they're just going to go?
Hold that thought, Demcad. We'll be right back after these messages.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Heart and Body Extract has a 23-year proven track record of using certified organic herbs that make up an excellent formula to balance and support the heart and circulatory system. In as little as 2 weeks, you can feel amazing results when your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements every day, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, and even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com and now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae species found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. Bio Superfood is a strong defender in the fight against radiation exposure. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity, is safe, and has no contraindications whatsoever. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com. That's spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com. Or you can call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Dr. Robert Rowan, MD.
They literally do miracles for a wide variety of conditions, from infection to autoimmune conditions and beyond that.
I have a very close relative who was faced with a severe challenge to her immune system, and my father, as a family physician, suggested that she take the Carnivora. She took the Carnivora 3 times a day, and 3 weeks later, her condition was completely eliminated. It supported her immune system to such a degree that she's perfectly fine and healthy now.
This is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. Buy 2, get 1 free on Carnivora capsules. You must use the promotion code BCAPS3. That's BCAPS3 when purchasing online at carnivora.com or calling 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's CARNIVORA.com. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Protect your immune system. It's the only one you've got.
That's the way it's done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second half of the program. And as once again, I am Eric of the Wealthy Family. I am joined by the one and only Reginald Keigler, who also goes by Demcad over on YouTube. And as basically what we're going to do is we were talking a little bit about trust and things at the break, and the idea of building your groups. And we were talking about some of the criteria. The biggest point that I really want to tell people is that I'm going to tell it to you like this. You're attempting to make an omelet. The omelet is freedom and liberty. You in control of your destiny. You control your own house, your own prosperity, your own demise, so on and so forth. If you understand that, then here's how it goes. You cannot make an omelet without breaking some eggs. The problem with society is that the mental and ideological degrade is so rampant, it riddles every age group to the point where those people are casualties. You must understand that right now. You cannot save everyone, and only the ones, the wheat from the chaff, okay? Does anybody understand the message I'm trying to tell people, okay? You shouldn't exclude people, but you should have worthwhile individuals based on their work ethic and personality, not based on what they already know. Okay, you could be a welder, teach them to weld, and they turn out to be 5 times better than you because they just have a natural knack for it. They've just never tried it before. You see, this is the reality. But if you don't have a destination, if you're not trying to build something for tomorrow, there will never be a tomorrow. Reggie?
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned personalities. That's another thing people underestimate. That's why I told people, if you're going to start a prepper group, make sure the people that you know, people you trust. But even if you know them, even if you know them for years, a good little practice would be to go up to a cabin somewhere, a secluded area with your group. Just turn the phones off, no internet, no TV, none of those electronics, and just hang out for a weekend and see what happens.
Basic camping.
Yeah, I mean, just something that simple. See if you actually get along in your group, or at least work on actually trying to get along. Because a lot of people, they spent most of their time under certain circumstances, but they never really had to be alone together. Just that without any distractions.
Well, you can't temper anything and make it stronger without putting heat and pressure on it. I mean, that's the reality situation. The guy that you've chosen to be in charge of the group, let's say, there's 20 of you, and you have a portion of your group is basically focused on security and basic warfare, defending the group. Now, everybody's going to do it, but you have a small group of military men who are trained. They really know what they're doing, and they're going to lead the rest of you. And within that group, they have one individual who leads the group. Well, who chose him? Is he truly a good leader? I can tell you right now, I have met several in the field, and it's a 50-50 shot. Sometimes you find an officer that's a great leader, knows what he's doing, got his shit in one sock, and he's not messing around. He's an actual operator. He knows what's going on. Then you have other people who have acquired that rank, but really have absolutely no idea about logistics, battle, tactics, anything of that nature. How do you know that individual? Have you went out and spent time bivouacking and training in the woods with that individual? Are you really willing to put your life in that person's hand without spending time with that individual and getting to know who they are?
I mean, but that's hard for a lot of people to do. It's hard to really get that experience.
It's hard because people don't want to give up things. I can understand if you have to go to work, but, instead of taking your kids to whatever it was this weekend or going and hanging out with your friends or you know what I mean? Or let's say it's a project like I want to work on the van, but it can wait. It's not life or death. You have to make this time. I mean, there's no more space for excuses. Okay. There really isn't. And, I really hope that people are doing these types of things. Like I see you have, I think it's Nick is his name. I've never actually spoken to him, but I see that you spend time with him and he's in a lot of your videos. I mean, that's the kind of situations that need to be generated before you truly know and understand an individual.
Oh yeah, I've known him for a decade, so that's pretty unique. Most people don't really have those type of friendships, so I mean, it takes time to really build that type of trust. But we've known each other for decades. We've been involved in a lot of different projects, whether it be community events for his community or whatever. We're working on the home projects at his house, my house, various different projects. So we know each other. We know each other's family. Those are some of the things you just absolutely have to do. So I'm sort of curious about your thoughts on the pitfalls of a group. What are some pitfalls a group can fall into?
Well, if you don't structure the group properly, if you don't have the right ideology, and everyone is there based on skill and talent, you have all kinds of pitfalls. If you fall down and break a leg, are you now beneficial to the group, or you're a hindrance? Will you be left behind? You see, it really draws back. Every pitfall that you can come up with folds back onto ideology. And you have to understand that if you're joining a group and everybody is showering you with attention because you are a doctor, let's say you're a surgeon. Now, granted, there's going to be no hospital in the field, but you're a surgeon. You can still operate. You can cut out body parts. You can, administer alcoholic anesthesia, things of that nature. Well, let's say you're out in the field and a horse steps on your hand and crushes your entire hand and every bone in it. Never to recover. What good are you now? What is the group going to do with you? Are they going to continue to feed you? Are they going to continue to feed your children? Are there now going to be contingencies that they enforce upon your wife or something of that nature? It is the time to start looking at what's really important. And it really comes down to ideology, but a lot of the pitfalls is going to be lack of practice. That's where most of your pitfalls are going to be. If you're on a scavenger run, who's in charge? What's the chain of command? Have you guys practiced together? Have you went out and set up a junk home scenario, sitting in the woods, refrigerators, cabinets, who's watching who's searching for the food, who's actually on patrol for the perimeter? What is a perimeter? How do you work a perimeter? I mean, these things, most of the things come to me as a military mind because I'm just now learning to be a farmer, and I'm understanding as I marry farming and military life together, there are all kinds of new pitfalls. Like, who's going to watch your back when you're chopping down the corn? I mean, this whole idea of one-man band in it, or very small groups, who's going to protect you when you go through the processes? And I will also tell you, being that here's some major ones that people aren't considering. Let's take Christians for an example, Demcad. If you're a Christian group, and you promote the Bible, and you promote God, and you promote Jesus, your enemy will analyze what that means to them, and then they will find small children or whatever they have to do that will play your faith against you.
Well, can you give us an example?
Well, let's imagine, if you're there, you have two small children, they're both females, they're scared to death, they're under the age of 10, they approach your property. They're standing there, they're asking for food because their mother is hurt, or they're asking you to come and assist their mother because they're hurt.
Oh, that sounds suspicious, man. The total collapse scenario and two little girls surviving on their own.
Well, but what I'm saying is their mother could have fell off the horse down the road and her leg is broken. They need you to come help. We'll be right back after these messages. We'll continue that conversation.
Hey guys, Charlie McGrath here at WideAwakeNews.com, and I'm here to tell you I believe that Chris and the folks over at SeedsNow.com offer the best product at the best prices with the best service of anybody in the market. But don't take my word for it. Listen to what some of their customers have to say. Joshua in Florida writes, exceeded my expectations. Shipping was prompt and a number of my plants are already starting to sprout. Thanks for being great. And Ryan in California writes, I just received my homestead seed bank, my all-in-one prepper pack, and seed-to-seed storage and growing guidebook, and I could not be more pleased. Thanks, Seeds Now. Now I can start growing and get off the GMOs. Keep up the great work. And the list goes on and on. Guys, it's time to make SeedsNow.com an integral part of your long-term preparedness strategy. Please call them at 877-344-4669. That number again, 877-344-4669. Or better yet, visit them today at SeedsNow.com.
Is what you are currently doing to relieve your pain working for you? Do you have chronic pain in your knees, your elbows, your joints, your back, your muscles? Have you tried going to the doctors and the naturopathic doctors, the back cracks, the motions, the potions, the lotions, and nothing seems to really last? There's a new product called a placebo enhancer. Now, don't laugh. The name is to avoid tyranny from the drug cartels that want to keep everybody on a leash. This product is advanced science. It's cutting edge. It's quantum physics-based, energy-infused liquid suspension with a transdermal magnesium applicant. You spray a couple sprays on where it hurts, and that's all you have to do, and within 20 minutes it's in every one of your cells. Go to painsucks.info and get the information. That's painsucks.info. Again, you can get a free trial bottle. Just pay shipping and handling at painsucks.info. Your pain isn't going to go away on its own, so get your trial bottle immediately. Painsucks.info.
Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question from my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe Elton and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning. Oh, you tell me again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the broadcast. This is the last segment. Demcat had a question he wanted to pose to me so I could answer it, and I want to answer it on air so that everyone else could hear. But we're talking about the two little girls. And, let's say that they're just asking for some bandages, some type of gauze, and a little bit of water for their mother so that they can patch her leg up and after she got thrown from the horse and move on. The telephone number is available at 1-877-342-6673. Your last segment with the attempt if you'd like to call in and talk to Reggie or myself. Reggie, you had questions or scenario you wanted to pose and you wanted me to answer.
Yes. If there was a collapse scenario and you're in a group and all of a sudden two little girls appear, saying that their mother's injured and they wanted you to go to another location to help her out, what would you do? How would you go about assessing that? And you pointed out the importance of making sure the group had the same ideology. So if a situation like that arose, people would already be on the same page. It'll be easier for you guys to really respond. You don't want to be fighting and arguing every time something happens. You want to have some things planned out ahead of time, something that groups have already decided on. So how would you recommend people go about dealing with that type of situation?
Well, first of all, I would say that the ideology is utmost important. It's paramount because you're going to know 9 times out of 10 what the answer is from the group before the question arises, simply because of the ideology and the structure of the group. Me personally, within my group, there's already it would be a set plan because the two little girls would probably be given some food. They would probably be given some bandages. And when they left the premises to go wherever it is they were going, we would then detach a scouting team who are well trained, and they would shadow her back to see if there really was a female, if there really was a situation, and if there was, then they would respond out of the kindness of our group, because that's what we're about. But if they're back reporting and we see that, their mother's being held hostage, or they're in a large group of men who they're just sex slaves for food, and they're gathering intel, these are the types of things you have to think about. So you want to have individuals who will be able to shadow and move around, but also at the same time, even though that is the decision I would make, as the leader or as a portion of the group, you may be sending those people to die. Every decision you make may kill someone. And this is something you will not be able to avoid, and psychologically you will be forced to deal with, which goes back into Reggie's videos and my years of blathering on the radio about, well, what is your ideology, and are you mentally prepared for this? Are you truly mentally prepared to be in charge? Do you think you have what it takes when the situation arises to pick who lives and who dies?
Well, I definitely don't have that type of skill set. I would have to learn a lot about combat tactics, to say the least. So I definitely wouldn't be the leader of the group. I would have to rely on somebody who knew a lot more about that stuff. And I don't see how I could even acquire that type of information unless I joined the military and learned some tactics, or hooked up with somebody who had been a part of the military and knew a lot about those type of tactics. I mean, there's so much I would have to learn.
But that is the easiest way for you, is to spend time with someone more like me. However you can, ask questions, and without physically being in the same neighborhood to train together, it will be difficult. However, I think at the same time, even if you have no experience, you have to think through, understand, and come to grips with the decision that's being made. The reason why you come to that before it is because you may not have a choice. You may have to make that decision whether you're prepared to make it or not mentally. And when you do, you must understand, weigh all options. Take everything into consideration. Do not make a rash decision, especially if it's something that you don't know anything about. And to those individuals out there who do have a clue. Let's say there are people like me who are out there all over the place. You can't make a rash decision either, because just because you think you know the right answer, you may not. It may be a scenario where Reggie was out on the side of the pasture, and he was actually had his sickle out, and he was chopping down some wheat. He saw the people approaching. He has pertinent information, even though he has no training to make the call. His voice and his information is just as important as mine, because he has hard information that he wants to provide. Also, Reggie may come up with a brilliant idea with no information. He may go, why don't we try this? See, that's the big thing about these leaders and following leaders and having an actual leader where they call all the shots. That isn't how it is for me. We have a civil side and we have a military side. When the bullets start flying, the person in charge of the military actions, whoever's in the chain of command as the leader, as the commanding officer for that day, which rotates. Okay, no one individual bears the entire burden. Each situation, there is different people in your group who will be the leader. This is just how it is. This is not a dictatorship. You're creating a group where everyone is independent and they're all individuals, but they all have talents and skills they bring to the table. And someone may have no skills. Like Reggie. Reggie may be a complete math wizard and complete logistics wizard. He looks at it and goes, okay, we need 12 of this, 13 of that, and if we move the manpower around like this, we can get it where it needs to be. But he may have absolutely no skill in the actual doing of the job or farming or anything else. He may just understand the numbers better than everyone else. Does any of that help?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So there's a psychological aspect of it, and there's of course there's other variables that people may have more information. And of course, there's just a practical experience. But yeah, the psychological, I don't even know how you can really prepare psychologically for making some of the choices like that. Because there's people in the military who make tough choices, and even once they leave the military, they have post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, how do you prepare mentally to make life and death?
I'm already
decisions?
dead. I already understand that I am dead. That is where it starts. When you sit down and you have a true conversation with yourself that your life is over. At that moment. Not the next moment. Not the next day. It's already over. And every moment from that until when you actually take your last breath is a gift. When you come to that realization, truly come to that realization, wash away gods, deities, ideology, everything, and look in the mirror and understand that your life is over. When you embrace that and then say, I'm going to treat every moment from now until my last breath as a gift, your ideology will change. You will change how people see me as being angry and whatnot. I'm having a blast. I am completely content. I have already come to grips with my death. I don't have to cry about it. I already did that. I went through those. I asked the questions, why me? Why does it have to be this way? Already answered. Already went through them. Now, the moment of when death comes will be a slightly different story. But that's the realization, finding your calm pond and becoming one with yourself and your surroundings. It is really difficult to do. You can never truly 100% prepare. And even if you prepare for yourself, the one thing you'll never be prepared for is when you're looking down the line and you're saying, all right, I need someone to stand here and lay down a cover fire for 6 minutes to get the women and children out, to get what little bit of provisions we can get out so that we have a chance to survive. And the person who's going to lay down cover fire is going to die. They're not coming with you. You're not prepared to make that decision. Who do you pick? Do you pick? Can you pick? Will you freeze? There's so many things that you just can't prepare for. That's why you really need to do what you can to prepare your mind as best as you possibly can. And the more trials and tribulations you have in your life, the better prepared you are for the tougher ones.
I'm thinking, I don't even want to talk about my thought process, but I already have a thought process for that type of situation. But yes, that's some heavy stuff. I'm almost afraid to really talk about how I would go about making that decision, because it just sounds cold. But it's something that you may have to do.
You may, and that is the thing that you're going to have to understand, that even no matter how cold it is, the reason why you make the decision is so that everybody else around you does not assume the guilt themselves and they have someone to blame. You take that guilt upon you to shield them from the emotional turmoil. I mean, it's a really big thing, and it's a deep topic. There is, I could tell you, the people in the chat room, being in places like Somalia, being in places like Bosnia, being in places where I wasn't supposed to be, but the U.S. government sent me there anyways. I have seen these families and individuals make these decisions. I have made the decisions myself. People just, it is a very deep subject, and I hope that we can continue the conversation. I want the last 2 minutes to be yours. Make sure you talk about your website and where people can get to you and in on this conversation.
Well, I'm thinking at this point, in that type of situation, I would probably go with the person. What music's playing already? Well, anyway, you guys get to find me on Demcad on YouTube, GEMCAD, Demcad. You'll find me on YouTube. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. You, Eric. And thank you for listening. Don't forget to feature blogs. Those prepare for today.
Oh, well, I'd rather thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, check out DenCat over on YouTube.com. DemCat2 is another channel. Please check all of it out. Subscribe, spend your time with him, and hope and initiate of some prodding to get him to come back more often. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day.
Cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand wrote a quote inside. When the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news to replay. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry. Like, what did he say?
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're listening to the Rense Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at Rense.com.
IRN USA Radio News on